Hi guys, it's Paul from Alt Game Reviews, and today I'm going to be discussing should you play Verdun in 2021? Is it still worth picking up? So Verdun was offered up for free on the Epic Games Store recently, so there'll be a lot of new players and people considering playing the game for the first time. Is it too late to get your boots in the mud and start playing this realistic WW1 multiplayer shooter? No, I think there's still plenty to enjoy here. There are not many other Battlefield shooters out there that can match the atmosphere of Verdun. There's no kill streaks, no vehicles, no dual wielding here, only the gory horrors of war.
You killer! Get back here!
You might have to put up with some bots depending on how good a server you can find though. The question probably is not should you play Verdun, it's if you can. So what's the premise for the game? Verdun is a multiplayer first-person shooter set in a realistic First World War setting. It was released back in April 2015 by developers M2H and Blackmill Games. It's currently available on PC, Xbox and PlayStation. The game takes place on the Western Front between 1914 and 1918, in one of the bloodiest conflicts in world history. The developers were inspired by the infamous Battle of Verdun in 1916, with the majority of the maps based off real conflicts around France and the surrounding area, such as the Battle of the Somme. Most people will probably compare this game to Battlefield, but it's an entirely different experience. Verdun has a much lower time to kill and is far more linear in its gameplay. The popular game mode Frontlines challenges teams to attack enemy trenches, hold off the following counter-attack and drive the enemy further into their territory. It's sometimes described as a PTSD simulator, and for good reason, with plenty of gore as soldiers try to survive chlorine gas and artillery raining down from above. The game's focused on recreating the actual warfare of the time and not on producing over-the-top blockbuster action. I actually felt more inclined to work with my team here as opposed to other multiplayer games. It's not just chucking down a supply crate when the ammo icon flashes above a teammate's head, whether it was laying down cover fire with a Lewis gun or rushing to the front of a trench tunnel to hold off an oncoming enemy advance with a flamethrower. As previously mentioned, there are 9 or so different maps, which many will be familiar with, including the French and German trench systems of the Argonne, as well as the massive fortress of Douaumont. In addition, there are unique environments between each of the different maps, with the muddy hell of Flanders and the wooded farmland of On. A distinctive feature of the multiplayer is the squad system, in which players can choose to be part of one of many squad types in the game, each of which have their own distinct tactical roles, weaponry, nationality and passive abilities. For example, the Tommies are a British rifle squad consisting of a corporal, rifleman, gunner and bomber. They have the ability to call in artillery with mortar shots or barrages and have an increased trench capture speed. Or there are my favourites, the Highlanders, a scout squad of kilt-wearing Scotsmen with the large capacity and rapid-fire SMLE rifle, binoculars for reconnaissance and increased sprint time, along with the best dialogue in the game.
Move your arse, French rats!
By working together with your teammates, you can earn experience which improves the equipment and versatility of your squad. As you gain more experience fighting and get promoted in rank, you can also earn career points, which you can use to unlock specialisations, weapons and equipment. Verdun has quite a lot of weapons to try out, accurate to the period of World War I. There's no create a class like Call of Duty. Each squad and individual within that squad has 3 loadouts to pick from. Taking a scout for example, you start with a Springfield rifle and binoculars. Spend a career point to unlock the second tier loadout with a magazine-fed Springfield and bayonet attachment. Spend a third and final skill point to unlock the final loadout with a scoped Springfield. Other weapons might include light machine guns, which have to be mounted like a turret to be fired. You can't run and gun like Rambo. I really enjoyed hunkering down in a trench as the gunner class and fending off the incoming counter-attack. The mainstay in the game are bolt action rifles. It's tense trying to time your shots between enemies and accounting for the rechambering delay after each kill. There are also unique weapons which favour close quarter combat found in the trenches, including shotguns, experimental SMGs and flamethrowers, which are specific to certain classes. You can even use melee weapons like a madman, running through tunnels armed with only a knife or even a machete. You'll have to deal with bullet drop, sway and holding your breath for accurate shots using rifles. There's also 3 different reloading mechanics to the weapons. For example, the Lebel rifle is loaded bullet by bullet. The Kar 98K can be loaded with a full magazine or with single bullets when partially emptied. And then there are clip only weapons such as the Berthier, which have to be emptied fully before reloading, which definitely feels alien after years of modern shooters, but it's a more realistic approach. The game has 3 additional multiplayer game modes: attrition, rifle deathmatch and squad defense. However, the vast majority of players players will be exclusively playing Frontlines. There is a co-op wave defense mode, but I really didn't find this to be too impressive as the enemy AI just ran in a straight line at our trench with no attempt to avoid our oncoming gunfire. The graphics are one of the weaker aspects of the game, but they're fine. The gore effects are a nice touch and can be pretty detailed with dismemberment on high settings. The main issue with the game is the number of players. In 2019 the developers released a new game, Tannenberg, which sits separate from Verdun and focuses instead on the Eastern Front. It's more of an expansion than a sequel, however matchmaking is divided between the two games, splitting the already modest player base. So now fans of the WW1 game series have to decide between the two. Tannenberg isn't a complete overhaul of Verdun and it feels more like a DLC with additional maps, therefore it's not a simple decision to pick between the two. This means when you're browsing servers it might look like games are full, but in reality there's only actually a few human players and the rest are made up with bots. So there you have it, Verdun is a realistic multiplayer shooter that accurately captures the trench warfare of the First World War. Hopefully the Epic Games promotion will inject some life into the game and boost the servers with some live players. There's still plenty of fun to be had here if you can join a game with some actual human players and not one that's entirely filled with bots.